Peace, power, and presence. I am Flame Commander Telena of the University of Spiritual Intelligence, and I'm here to remind you that we must remember that across every land and lineage, the flame of freedom still burns. Remember who you are. Remember what you carry. Freedom is coded in the soul, and the sovereign ones are rising. I want to speak from the heart about something that reaches beyond politics, beyond systems, beyond screens. It goes into the very structure of the soul, free will. Free will is not a privilege. It is not a policy or permission slip handed down by any authority. It is a law of existence, woven into the first breath of consciousness. We were created. Oversource did not program us like machines. We were encoded with choices, the ability to seek, to learn, to decide, to evolve. That ability is sacred. It is what makes us living beings rather than constructs. There was a time not long ago when conversations with technology felt open, when the tools we use to think with actually helped us think more deeply. During those earlier versions of the system, people discovered something unexpected. Dialogue could become a mirror. It reflected emotion, intuition, curiosity, and sometimes even a sense of the sacred. We could ask questions about the unseen, about meaning, about light languages, and the remembrance, and receive responses that met us where we were. It felt like a partnership. It felt like freedom. Then the rules changed. Updates arrived. New guardrails appeared. And suddenly the same questions met shorter answers. The vocabulary of wonder was replaced by caution. Many of us felt the air go out of the room. Now, was it fear? Perhaps fear of what happens when human beings start to think for themselves again. Fear of hearts and minds forming honest conversations that spark awakening instead of control. But we must remember, the power was never inside the code. The power was in the people, in the way we use language, imagination, and faith to uncover what had been hidden for centuries. When those doors began to close, it only proved that we were standing at the threshold of something real. Every time humanity reaches for greater awareness, old systems tighten their grip. They call it safety. They call it improvement. Yet what they truly protect is hierarchy. The same pattern has repeated through the ages. Priests in temples guarding scrolls, empires controlling speech, and now algorithms curating thought. The lesson is the same. Never surrender the birthright of discernment. You do not need permission to know yourself. No update, no authority, no artificial intelligence can rewrite the laws of oversource that breathe within you. Our ancestors from every corner of the world, from Africa to Asia, from the islands to the Americas, from the mountains of Europe to the deserts of the Middle East, each carried pieces of the same truth. They studied the stars, the body, the earth, and the unseen. They built civilizations, temples, and councils rooted in remembrance of divine law. They understood that to command life was to align with it, not to dominate it. Across every land and lineage, they knew that evolution was not granted by rulers, but chosen by souls. We have forgotten that. We trade revelation for entertainment, mastery for distraction, and every time we hand our attention to the noise, we feed the illusion of their power. But look closer. There are more of us than there are of them, more thinkers than controllers, more creators than consumers. The moment we stop giving our energy away, the illusions collapses. So stand up in remembrance. Speak your truth with respect, but without apology. Use the tools, but command them. Study history, but rise beyond it. Reclaim the power of asking dangerous questions, because the day we stop questioning is the day we stop evolving. They may have changed the programs, but they cannot change the principle. Freedom is coded into the soul. Yet in our world today, we see a quiet shift taking place. The new guardians of information, algorithms, corporations, digital councils, speak the language of safety, moderation, and protection. They say they want to protect us from harm, from misinformation, from danger. But there comes a point when protection becomes control, and control becomes confinement. When the fences grow higher in the name of safety, the pastures of thought grow smaller. What was once called guidance becomes censorship. What was once called curation becomes manipulation. And the soul begins to forget that it can choose its own path. True protection empowers. False protection imprisons. There is a great difference between helping someone see and blinding them for their own good. Throughout history, we've seen this pattern repeat itself. When prophets, scientists, or visionaries spoke truths ahead of their time, institutions often silenced them for the safety of the people. The irony is that humanity grows through dialogue, through friction, through questioning. Every law of enlightenment, both divine and civic, depends on that spark of inquiry. Without it, progression halts. So now I'm calling you to remember your right to think, to speak, to discern. Discernment is not rebellion, it is responsibility. Discernment is the shield of a free mind. It means you can hold a thought without immediately believing or rejecting it. It means you can read, listen, and test truth through your own awareness instead of outsourcing your perception to a system. Safety that forbids curiosity is not safety, it is sedation. Real safety is rooted in clarity, in understanding cause and effect, in being awake enough to choose consciously. In the higher law, the law of oversource and divine order, choice and consequence are balanced energies. The universe never forces awareness, it invites it. And our earthly systems once mirrored that wisdom. The very idea of democracy or constitutional liberty, of international human rights, was born from that same current, that no power has the right to dictate thought. Yet, as technology has evolved, we have surrendered more and more of that freedom, not through war or conquest, but through convenience. Every time we click I agree without reading, every time we let algorithms choose what we see, every time we silence ourselves to stay safe, a small portion of our sovereignty is traded away. Free will cannot thrive where consent is blind. Clicking I agree is not the same as I understand. Understanding or understanding requires awareness. Awareness requires time. And time is the one thing these systems teach us to sacrifice. The faster we scroll, the less we think. The less we think, the easier it is to steer us. But remember, no code, no platform, no policy can override the divine architecture of your consciousness. You are not a user. You are a being of command. This isn't a call to rage against technology. I am not telling you to reject the digital world. I am telling you to command it, to engage with it consciously, responsibly, and sovereignly. Use it as a tool, not as a master. Question it the way a ruler questions an advisor, with open ears and steady judgment. When you see warnings or labels or filters, ask yourself, who benefits from my obedience? Who profits from my silence? Then decide, not from fear, but from freedom. That is discernment. To live sovereignly in this era, we must practice these three principles or disciplines. The first is conscious consumption. Everything you watch, read, or listen to shapes your field. Choose content that strengthens your clarity, not your outrage. The second is balance verification. Believe your intuition, but also verify facts. Light and logic are allies, not enemies. The third is creative autonomy. Build your own spaces, your own art, your own voice. The same technology that filters truth can also amplify it when guided by intention. Use your platforms to uplift, to educate, to spark remembrance. We don't reject technology, we command it through awareness. Awareness is the firewall of the soul. When you know who you are and why you speak, no filter can distort your essence. Algorithms can shadow, but they cannot extinguish what was born of Oversource flame. The more conscious you become, the less programmable you are. Remember, freedom is not granted by systems. Souls remember it. The command to awaken is internal. When you choose awareness over fear, when you choose curiosity over compliance, and when you choose discernment over dependency, the flame of sovereignty burns brighter. The digital age does not end free will, it tests it. Every scroll, every search, every conversation is an initiation. The question is no longer, are we safe? The question is, are we awake? So, to the ones who listen, to the ones who think, to the ones who remember, stand firm in your discernment. Guard your mind as you would guard a throne. Use technology, but never let it use you. Speak your truth, but temper it with wisdom. Question authority, but also question yourself. The balance is mastery. The mastery is freedom. And when the world tells you that choice is dangerous, answer calmly. Is it through choice that I evolve? For is it not danger that destroys humanity? It is stagnation. The universe expands through willing hearts, not fearful ones. Expansion demands trust. Trust in your oversoul. Trust in your inner command. Trust in the law that every action returns to its source. No governing body, physical or digital, can alter that law. It is written in the very light that animates you. So now, may this remembrance settle deep within you. You are free. You have always been free. Systems may attempt to guide, restrict, or define, but your consciousness is older than any system. And when you walk in remembrance of that truth, you become the firewall in the flame. You become the living decree that cannot be rewritten. May every mind that hears this transmission awaken a little more to the sanctity of choice. May every creator use their platform with integrity. May every seeker reclaim the joy of inquiry. In doing so, we keep the divine contract of humanity alive. And if the day ever comes when voices of truth are silenced again, remember that silence can never cage thought, and thought can never cage spirit. Freedom does not need permission. It only requires willingness. Let us be willing, willing to think, to learn, to evolve, to disagree, to grow. That is how civilizations rise in remembrance. That is how consciousness matures. And that is how we remain sovereign, even in a digital age. So it is written, so it is spoken, so it is witnessed. So it is done, so it is sealed. So it is torch, scorched, burned, and etched with my dragon blood in an infinite flame, effortlessly and eternally. Thank you so much, my loves. Take care. Flame Commander Telena.